Generations, cities have been trying to attract businesses, right? They attract more businesses, there's more tax revenue, there's more services, there's more businesses, there's more tax revenue, there's more services, et cetera. Well, so it makes tons of sense when you're trying to attract companies. But what about trying to attract workers, remote workers, in fact? So this is obviously a much bigger thing since the pandemic because people have been able to work remotely. I want to talk about a program in Tulsa, Oklahoma called Tulsa Remote. It's an interesting design. There's money on the table, and we're going to talk to its creative director today. His name is Justin Harlan, and he joins us now from where else? Tulsa. Hello, Justin.
Hey, Bruce. Thanks for having me on. It's great to be here with you.
What is the purpose of Tulsa Remote?
Well, Tulsa Remote really started as an experiment back in 2018 when we came up with this idea. We were really trying to attract knowledge workers to the city, and the city is often reliant on the oil and gas industry, which can be a roller coaster even in the toughest of times and almost always. So we were really trying to diversify our workforce and bring in new folks that were knowledge workers that would help us prepare for the future and really have a labor workforce that was ready for what's to come. And at the
And
time, the
even
majority
before
of
the this is even before the pandemic. Like you had this
this is
idea
before the
before.
pandemic, yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
prescient.
it is,
Prescient.
yeah. And so we really at the time knew that about 7% of the workforce was working remotely, and most of those folks were knowledge workers at the time. And so we put out an offer of about $10,000 in co-working space access, access to other people through community events and things like that, to come and live in Tulsa and do your remote job here for a year. And that is how the program was born. Back in 2019, we brought 70 people. And, obviously then in 2020, everything changed and our target market became much larger. More people were working remotely, and we have grown like crazy since then.
Where in the beginning, where did people come from principally?
Yeah, really throughout the history of our program over the past 6 years, the majority of people are coming from large, expensive metropolitan cities in the United States, LA, San Francisco, New York, Austin, really feeling connected to that smaller town feel that Tulsa offers, but also a lower cost of living. And we're really able to show people the high quality of life that you can get here at a much lower cost. And that does a lot for folks that are working remotely, kind of maintaining their salaries and still getting access to that high quality of life without making any sacrifices on the salary side.
10 grand's not nothing. How did the funding come to be? Was this the municipality who cut a check?
We are run by a private family foundation who gives the majority of their money right here to Tulsa, and has had a lot of different focus areas all across the city, starting in early childhood education and really working into just about every systemic issue that our city faces. But one place as of late has been economic development. And how do we, through the investments that have been made in placemaking, like at the Gathering Place, which is an amazing public park here in the city that was gifted to the city, how do we get more people to reap the benefits of the investments we've made on the placemaking side? And of course, talent being here and helping the city grow is a huge part of that. And so Tulsa Remote was really one of many strategies that's focused on economic growth within Tulsa.
With any of these initiatives, there is a part of successful rollout that would be some sort of impact report. You've got that survey. What did it show?
Yeah, so we have an economic impact report that we rolled out at the end of 2024, and it showed that in 2024 alone, Tulsa Remote members brought $622 million into Tulsa's economy, really providing the program's potential and proving the program's potential, rather, as an economic driver in the city. We know that there's been over $30 million that have been added to state and local taxes, which obviously supports things like public schools, public services, infrastructure. And one of the really cool things that I don't necessarily know that we anticipated was that through more people coming, spending money primarily in retail and hospitality, there's also been over 1,400 local jobs that have been created within those types of businesses here in Tulsa. And so not only is it attracting talent that's spending locally, bringing their salaries with them, contributing to taxes, but it's also creating opportunities for everybody that's here on a local level.
It's a two-way street. You've attracted people. I'm sure not everyone decided to stay. What are some of the reasons why Tulsa didn't work out in the way that they had hoped for those who participated in the program and then booked it somewhere else?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen about 90% of people stay past the year, which is great. About 75% of people that have come since the program started are still around in Tulsa today, which has exceeded our expectations. But there are some that leave. Our biggest reasons that we see are flight accessibility, dating life, and just proximity to friends and family, going back to where they might have come from and missing out on the folks that might be there. But for most people that come through the program, they're really choosing to call Tulsa home, which is the investment and really the bet that we are placing.
There is a pendulum, and it swung very close to prime on remote work for 2020, 2021. That pendulum has swung in the US in particular. How has that changed this program and the prospects for its future growth?
Yeah, the pendulum certainly seems to be swinging as it relates to headlines, but often, as we know, there's not a the headlines are not indicative of what's actually going on behind the scenes. And we see that the majority of people are working hybrid, which is still not our target market because that requires people to go into the office at some point throughout the week or month. But we also know that there's far more remote workers today than there were in 2019 when we launched this program. It's really just a matter of finding them and how do we target the right people, get in front of the right companies, show up at the right conferences, and find those folks that really are able to move wherever they want to live and align their life decisions with the high quality of life that Tulsa has to offer. And so for us, it's not necessarily about changing our strategy. It's more so about finding the people that still fit within our target market and not being consumed by the noise that we're often seeing in those headlines.
I have lived in big cities. I have lived in small cities, and there are pros and cons to each of them. One of the things that I can imagine is a challenge or a need for someone who's coming from New York or San Francisco are things like culture, theater, music, food, those sorts of things. How has Tulsa invested in those kinds of things and increased its ability to deliver on some of those intangibles for people?
Yeah, well, it's really a ripe moment for Tulsa. I mean, just last year alone, we had 7 James Beard nominations in the city, which is more than Vegas. We have an amazing outdoor amenity scene. Our music is really first class with a ton of venues and all the big acts coming through town. So it's really about finding the things that you love and getting access to the things that matter most to you. And so we've built in that sort of community integration into our program. When members arrive into the city, they're assigned a member integration specialist. That person on my staff has a portfolio of members that they're responsible for meeting with within their first 90 days, hearing about what they care most about in their time in Tulsa. How do they want to get plugged in? What did they get tapped into in the city that they came from? And then making the connections that you're looking for. It's really boutique level service, and moving in a way that helps you immediately get integrated and connected to other people and places that are going to align with the things that you want to get out of your year. And what we've found is when you do that early and often, that helps people plant roots that go beyond a program, which is really what's leading to that high level of retention that we're seeing.
What have you noticed about the political context? And I'm not going to ask you to make any commentary about politics in the US. I don't mean that. I mean, when you leave a major center like Manhattan, where I used to live, it is a very different political context than living in a smaller center in Canada or around the world. How has that been a factor for people to realize, wait a sec, things work differently, maybe not in Tulsa, but maybe in the state of Oklahoma than they would have in the city that they used to live in?
What we really select for is people that are ready to contribute to a city and make meaningful change and get plugged in meaningful ways. And we do that in our selection process. We do that through the types of people that we're looking for and the way that we let some people in and not others. And so we don't really care what somebody's views are politically, but more so just wanting people that are ready to come to Tulsa and contribute to the good things that are happening here. And we see that contributes and shows up in multiple ways, whether it's starting businesses or getting activated in the political world, or simply donating to nonprofits that are already existing in Tulsa. I mean, every member contributes in their own way, and for us, it goes beyond the political headlines and more about just trying to make the place that you're moving a better place than when you left it.
You reference not everybody gets accepted. What are the reasons in which someone would not get accepted into the program?
Yeah, so you have to be 18 years old. That's a starter. You have to have a full-time remote job, having lived outside of Oklahoma for at least a year, and be eligible to work in the United States. Beyond that, we're really looking for folks that are going to contribute to the economy here in Tulsa, both with the job they have and the salary they make. And like I mentioned, really eager to make an impact on the community with a track record of plugging into the community that you're coming from. This isn't a money grab. You know, we are really
Right.
looking to support people in those moving costs that help them get here, but we're really looking for folks that are going to plug in meaningful ways.
How do you cut the check? You clearly don't give them the 10 grand on acceptance into the program. So how does that work?
Yeah, so once you move here, you do an orientation. And once you do your orientation, if you've bought a home and show us that deed, you get all your $10,000 up front. If you don't, you get monthly stipends, and all of that just goes directly to your bank account. So there are some requirements throughout the program, but you know that the financial piece has become one of the easiest things for us to do
Right.
at this point.
Right. One last question. Crystal ball time. You're looking ahead 5 years, 10 years down the road. What would you love to see happen for this program and for your city on that time horizon?
Oh, that's a great question. I mean, I would love to be in a world where the country knows about Tulsa and the beauty that it offers to people, is aware of the outdoor amenities and the cultural scene and the high quality of life with a low cost of living that the city has to offer, which then basically puts us out of business. I mean, every nonprofit wants to be put out of business, right? I would
Sure.
love to be in a world where people are just seeing Tulsa for what it has to offer and coming here on their own. And it has really become the most welcoming place in America for new people to come to because they know there are intentional integration strategies in place that are going to help to get them plugged in and connected to others and really create that high quality of life that they're looking for.
Sounds very Canadian. So Canadian. My God, it must have been designed by a Canadian. Justin, congrats on your success thus far, and thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, Bruce. I appreciate the time.